And the National Young Architect of the Year goes to Emma Sullivan. Applause thundered through the grand hall as I walked toward the stage, heart pounding like a drum. 15 years of relentless work, late nights, tight budgets, quiet sacrifices, had led to this moment. The crystal plaque sparkled beneath the lights, just like the sustainable dream home that earned me this honor. I smiled at the crowd, until I spotted them. My parents, pushing through the audience. And behind them my brother Marcus, wearing that smug, familiar grin. Even from up here, I could see the tension in Mom's face. I knew that look too well. "Emma!" she shrieked, her voice cutting through the cheers. "Get down here. Now!" I gripped the podium, forcing a smile. The presenter glanced at me, concerned. I gave a small nod. I wasn't okay, but I knew how to pretend. "This is inappropriate," I said into the microphone. "We can speak after the ceremony." But Dad was already at the steps, his face red with anger. "No, we talk now. Your brother needs a house. That eco thing you built. He deserves it more." A ripple of murmurs spread across the hall. The house they meant, my house, had become a national icon. Designed from the inheritance Grandma Rose left me, it had launched my career and opened doors I'd only dreamed of. Now they wanted to take it. Marcus stepped forward, hands casually in his pockets. "Come on, sis. I'm going through a rough patch. The kids need something stable." Stable, I thought bitterly. Like the 3 homes he'd already lost gambling. Mom suddenly lunged, grabbing the award from the presenter's hands. "Sign over the house, or you're no longer part of this family." "Mrs. Sullivan," the presenter interrupted gently. "This is a private matter." "Private?" Mom laughed coldly. "There's nothing private about Emma's selfishness. Marcus is family. Family shares." I thought of the college fund they emptied for Marcus's failed startups. The scholarships I gave up so he could get back on his feet. All the times they made me small to make him feel big. I swallowed hard and said, "Steady now. No, that house is mine. Built it. And I'm not giving it away." Crack. The crystal plaque hit the marble floor and shattered. Mom stared at the broken pieces, then hissed, "You're no daughter of mine." Security stepped in. As they were led out, Marcus tossed one last jab over his shoulder. "Hope you enjoy your empty house, sis. Must be nice having no one to share it with." The ceremony limped to a close, filled with awkward handshakes and sympathetic glances. Later I sat in my car, staring at a box someone had handed me, the broken remains of my award. My phone buzzed with messages. "Congratulations." Support. But one text stopped me cold. "Aunt Diane, Mom's estranged sister. Saw what happened. It's time you knew why Grandma left everything to you. Come tomorrow." That night I couldn't sleep. My sanctuary, with its living walls, reclaimed wood, and solar panels, suddenly felt different. Less like a triumph. More like a battleground. Grandma Rose had skipped Mom and Marcus entirely in her will. "You have my gift," she told me once, pressing her old locket into my hand on her deathbed. "Don't let anyone take that from you." I had never opened the locket. Till now. Under the glow of my desk lamp, my fingers shook as I popped it open. Inside wasn't a photo, but a tiny key and a folded note. "Blood isn't always thicker than water. When they show their true colors, visit Diane. She has the test results." Test results. My phone lit up again. "Aunt Diane. Bring the locket. Your grandmother knew this day would come." I clutched the key, my mind racing. What test? Why did Grandma choose me, and not them? And what truth had she trusted only Diane to reveal? The next day, I drove out to Aunt Diane's cottage, hidden at the edge of town. The wild, overgrown garden stood in stark contrast to my parents' perfect suburban lawn. I hadn't been here since I was a child, before Mom had cut Diane off completely. The door creaked open before I could knock. Diane stood in the doorway, gray hair loose, eyes sharp, waiting. Her eyes were sharp, knowing, so much like Grandma Rose's. "You look just like her," Aunt Diane said, pulling me into a fierce hug. "Come in. We have a lot to talk about." Inside, her cottage felt like stepping into a forgotten chapter of my family's history. The walls were covered in photos, most I'd never seen before, many of them showing a younger version of Grandma Rose. But what stopped me cold was the large portrait above the fireplace. Grandma Rose cradling a baby, younger than I'd ever seen her. "That's not your mother," Diane said quietly, following my gaze. "That baby is me." I turned to her, confused. "But Mom always said she was an only child. That you came along much later." Diane gave a bitter laugh. "Your mother wasn't even born when that photo was taken. She isn't Rose's daughter. I am." The room tilted slightly around me. "What?" Diane walked to an old secretary desk and pulled out a worn manila envelope. "Your grandmother, my mother, took your mom in after her real mother, our housekeeper, died giving birth. Rose raised her as her own but never told her the truth." My hands shook as I opened the envelope. Inside were official adoption papers from 1975, and a DNA test dated 15 years ago. "She found out, didn't she?" I asked, the pieces starting to fall into place. "That's why she hated you. Why she was always so angry." Diane nodded slowly. "She discovered the truth after Rose refused to sell the family land to fund another one of Marcus' schemes. She had a DNA test done, hoping it would prove she had a rightful claim. But it only confirmed she didn't." I looked down at the key from Grandma's locket. "But why didn't she ever tell me?" "She was protecting you. After that discovery, your mom became obsessed with bloodlines, with proving she belonged more than anyone else. But when Rose saw your talent, your vision, so much like her own, she knew she had to shield your legacy." I held up the tiny key. "And this?" Diane's eyes softened. "That opens Rose's old studio, the one your mother always said was just a storage room. It's still there behind her house. Everything Rose ever created, every award, every design, she kept it locked up, waiting for you." I shook my head. "But Mom sold Grandma's house last year to pay Marcus' debts." "No, she tried," Diane said with a smirk. "But she couldn't. Rose put the house in a trust. It passes directly to you, but only once your mother revealed her true colors. The DNA test was just insurance, proof she had no legal claim." I sank into a chair, dizzy. All those years, the favoritism, the guilt trips, the pressure. Was it all about proving she deserved something that was never hers to begin with? "Yes," Diane said. "And Marcus, he's just like her. Entitled, bitter, always taking, never earning." My phone buzzed. New message. If you're with that woman, don't bother coming home. Either sign over the house or you're dead to us." I showed it to Diane. She didn't even blink. "Rose expected this," she said. "That's why she planned everything so carefully. The trust, the locket, even the timing. She wanted you to be free before you found out." I swallowed hard. "What do I do now?" Diane smiled, the firelight catching in her eyes. "What Rose always did. Build something beautiful, something real. Lies can't survive where truth lives." I turned back to the portrait of Rose holding baby Diane. For the first time I saw it, the same steady strength I glimpsed in the mirror each morning. My bond with Grandma Rose hadn't come from blood. Came from something deeper. A shared spirit. Passion. Creativity. Resilience. Diane reached into the desk once more. "There's one more thing," she said, handing me another envelope. "Rose left this for you. Instructions for accessing your full inheritance." The house was only the beginning. With trembling hands, I opened the letter. The first line read, "My dearest Emma, if you're reading this, it means you've finally broken free." 3 months later, I stood in front of Grandma Rose's restored studio, the key warm in my hand. The renovation had been my first project since the award ceremony, a tribute to her legacy and a declaration of my own. The inside was a perfect fusion of past and present. Her original drafting table still faced the window, now paired with my sleek design station. Her awards, rescued from Diane's attic, lined the walls, beside my own restored plaque, shattered and rebuilt, now framed behind glass. A reminder of the day I chose myself over a legacy of guilt and manipulation. My phone buzzed again. "Marcus, Mom's in the hospital. Dress," she says. "Your fault. Least you could do is sell that house and help with the bills." I stared at the message. Then I set the phone down, quietly and without guilt. I turned back to my desk, picked up my pencil and got back to work, building something that would last. The last 3 months had taught me more than any award ever could. About boundaries, about the strength in saying no, about choosing which bridges to burn and which to rebuild. The full scope of the inheritance had been staggering. It wasn't just money. Grandma Rose had left behind an entire architectural empire. 3 sustainable development companies, each quietly operating under different names. All now mine. The dream house I built. It sat on just one corner of a vast stretch of land Rose had been quietly acquiring for years, all protected within the trust. "I'm still settling in," I said as Aunt Diane appeared in the doorway, her presence now a comforting constant in my life. Not a void filler but a truth teller. "Protector. Just finished installing the last pieces," I added, gesturing to the wall of blueprints, Rose's and mine displayed side by side. Her elegant, timeless lines flowed into my modern, eco-conscious visions. Despite the decades between us, our work spoke the same language. "She would have loved this," Diane murmured, her hand brushing over the worn edge of the drafting table. "Especially knowing her legacy survived, despite your mother's best efforts to erase it." Car door slammed outside. I didn't have to look to know who it was. Through the window, I saw Mom marching up the path with Marcus just behind her, filming on his phone like always, collecting evidence for their next smear campaign. Despite the no trespassing order, they still showed up. Unannounced. Uninvited. "Ready?" Diane asked, already moving toward the panic button beneath the console. He nodded. Within minutes, 2 patrol cars rolled up the gravel drive. The officers intercepted them at the gate. "Emma Sullivan." Mom's voice screeched from outside, even as she was held back. "You ungrateful, selfish." I didn't hear the rest. I didn't need to. From the studio window, I watched them be escorted off the property. Marcus still recording, Mom red-faced with rage. "They'll keep trying," Diane said softly. "Let them," I replied, turning back to my desk. "They can't take anything from me anymore." My latest project was sprawled across the table. Designs for a new sustainable housing development. Rose's companies, combined with my award-winning recognition, had drawn in investors eager to build affordable, eco-friendly communities. The house Mom and Marcus tried to steal would be just one of many. Each home built not for profit but for purpose. 4 single parents, young couples, retirees, people who'd worked hard and just needed a chance. Not a handout. Foundation. Diane slid a folder across the desk. "The first applications for the program," she said. "Thought you'd want to see." I flipped it open. Stories of hope and struggle filled the pages. People ready to build something better. Something real. "This," I said quietly. "This is what Grandma wanted." Dan nodded. "Not just buildings. A legacy of healing. Of helping people build lives with dignity." My phone buzzed. A news alert. Sullivan Sustainable Communities announces innovative housing project. Below it, a comment from Marcus. "That should have been mine. Dad says we'll contest the inheritance." I laughed, the sound catching me off guard. "They still don't get it, do they?" I said, shaking my head. "Even if they could challenge the trust, which they can't, they wouldn't even know what to do with any of this." Diane smiled and squeezed my shoulder. "No, they wouldn't. They never understood that true inheritance isn't about land or money. It's about vision, integrity, the strength to choose what's right, even when it costs you." I looked around the studio, at the blueprints on the walls, the restored plaque in its glass case, Grandma Rose's portrait watching over it all. The family I had lost was never really mine. But the one I had now, Diane, my team, the community we were building, was worth more than any blood tie ever could be. Time for the site meeting, Diane asked, checking her watch. I gathered my plans, stealing one last glance at Rose's portrait. Her eyes bright with the same fire I now felt burning in my chest. She stood in front of her first major project, proud, determined, unshakable. Yes, I said, smiling. Time to build something beautiful. As we stepped outside, I saw the last of the police cars pulling away, Mom and Marcus inside. This time I didn't watch them go. I didn't have to. My eyes were on the future, not the past they were still desperately clinging to. Sometimes the family you're born into isn't the one you're meant to keep. Sometimes it takes losing everything to finally understand what you're truly worth. Grandma Rose had always known. Now so did I.